Hey Sarah.
Hello.
Hey,
Hey, how you
how are
doing today?
you? I'm good. I'm good. I slept really well last night and it's a nice morning. Just took a refreshing shower and yeah, getting myself together. I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing really great. I actually just got off of another coaching call and it was like just really amazing. So I'm
Heck
feeling
yeah.
inspired and ready to rock.
Nice. Doing some good work.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so
So
it was actually an individual coaching session, but I know we want to talk about group coaching sessions.
yes, group work. Absolutely. That's what we're going to talk
Yeah.
about today.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, I know that you have your mothering circle where you talk about
Mhm.
being a mother and inviting
Mhm.
women into that space. And then I've been running my men's group now for a year and a half. So yeah, I think we're both big advocates of it and want to share it with our audience and tell
Mhm.
more people about that kind of work. So
Mhm.
let me ask you this. What is group work?
Well, I think in our preparation for today's episode, I really loved the way that you defined group work, and I think that um, it's a really great opportunity for people to come together, sitting together in a circle with a shared intention of growing and healing, or an intention of some kind, a specific intention.
Yeah. Yeah, coming together with the intention of growing and healing. And also say like a facilitated thing.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah. Um, yeah, that's a pretty solid definition.
I think
Um,
so. I've been defining things a lot lately for my nervous system class that I'm writing and trying to keep things simple. One
yeah,
sentence. It's like,
yeah,
that's the way.
yes, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I guess
Um,
the question could be also, what is group sessions like? What are they not?
yeah, what are they not? That's also a good question. It's not it's not just a bunch of people complaining. That's,
That's
I would say, like, that's the
huge.
first thing that comes to mind. It's, I don't, group work is not just you and some friends gathering around complaining about the same topics. Yeah.
Right. That I think it's a really important distinction, and it's something I put in my Mother Circle marketing is like what is not Mother Circle. We're
Yeah.
not a group of moms complaining about the dads in our life. We're not complaining about how hard it is when you have an infant that's not sleeping. This is a very structured, contained conversation that hopefully brings enlightenment, inspiration, and like contemplation for your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that absolutely, absolutely. And the intention is really to understand more, to connect more, to grow in a positive direction and to heal from past wounds. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And the group should have clear definitions of what it is.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
also think that this is where we can get into how group work is different than what you're maybe used to experiencing. I think that traditionally, or I feel like even therapy today, like thinking about individual therapy, how it's really only just become accepted. Like, I mean, I remember when we were in school and if you were like seeing a therapist, like something was wrong with you, and now it's much more integrated as like an acceptable form of feeling your best.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that group work is the next stage of that.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I think yeah, now's a good time to talk about like what are those differences? What are the differences between group work and individual one-on-one work with a coach or a therapist and how they differ and maybe we can get into like why you would start to choose to work in a group.
Mhm.
So yeah, what would you say are some of the main differences sitting in a group versus working one-on-one with a coach or therapist?
Well, in individual work, the facilitator, the coach, the therapist is their role is different. Their role is to support, listen, reflect anything that you bring to the table.
Hmm.
So, their role isn't necessarily to tell you that you're wrong. Their role is to support you where you are.
Hmm.
And so the attention is really going to be on that person majorly, like that's where the attention lies. Which has a lot of pros and a lot of good things about it. And I think there's like a whole other layer of how individual work can be so much focus that maybe defocusing is like is another option for therapy.
Yeah. Um, I feel like, yeah, if you're talking specifically about therapy, it's different because, like you just said, you got that one-on-one focus, and you're really diving deep, hopefully, into past issues. And in therapy, they can be using very specific therapeutic techniques uh, to address, you know, expressions of behavior that you don't want anymore in your life. Um, so yeah, I would say like that's how it's different. You can have a group that is led by a therapist and can be using, therapeutic techniques, group therapeutic techniques like psychodrama and stuff, where you're reenacting scenes from your past and stuff like that. So that absolutely can be present in groups. Um, but yeah, the individual focus, and just being asked the hard questions and having nowhere to hide, I think is
Mhm.
different. Not that you're supposed to be hiding in the group either, but yeah. And then the other main thing I think is different is like the connection with the other people in the group. And also, I would say the connection with the facilitator. Um, I feel like in one-on-one stuff, therapists are supposed to be maybe a little bit pulled back, like they're not sharing their stuff. They're not completely open. It's really just you, and they're a little bit more they're not supposed to be sharing their stuff or like bringing their full self in a way present. They're supposed to be in their therapeutic role. They're not just, you
Mhm.
know, Sally, you know, licensed marriage and family therapist or clinical social worker or whatever. It's they're in a role. And I think with the group, the facilitator is in a role, but those boundaries are softer,
Mhm.
where the facilitator is usually really part of the process is really that vulnerability and openness and honesty. And I think in a lot of groups, that's a main feature is that the facilitator is really everyone's kind of equals in a sense. Um, you know, yeah, except maybe if you are in a specific group run by a therapist that's doing specific therapeutic techniques.
Yeah, I think going back to what you were saying about the processing time, as a massage instructor, I witnessed this in my classroom where if I have a small class and I'm focusing a lot on a certain student, they can't integrate what is happening or what they're learning. I,
Right.
I actually kind of need to go away. And
Yeah.
so I feel like, yeah, yes, you're absolutely right about the hiding. You shouldn't hide in groups, but there's like another thing that could happen whenever another person is talking. It's like you get to integrate and process within yourself.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I feel like groups, I can see where group work could be kind of scary because it's
Yeah.
like, oh, there's all these people. But
Right.
then also, like maybe group is another softer way to access like healing because the focus isn't totally on you all the time.
Right. Yeah. I feel like that leads us to like why would you seek to join a group and do group work?
Hmm.
Uh, Partly because maybe it's a little bit softer, and that you're not being asked to dive deep into your stuff. You absolutely can. That does happen in groups, absolutely. But
Hmm.
it's not that anyone's forcing you to, and in therapy, you're not being forced. Hopefully, you're going to therapy because you chose so, but sometimes a therapist can really lead you in that direction, but that's consensual, generally. Um, so yeah,
Hopefully.
yeah, hopefully. Um, so yeah, I think a person could choose it because it's a little bit softer, and you can participate at your own discretion, really. Like, just because maybe you're in a share portion of the group where people are opening up and talking about things that have happened or things that they've done recently or whatever, you don't have to share if you don't want to. So
Hmm.
it can be a really kind of important stepping stone, I think, for people to start to feel comfortable with talking about their stuff, you know,
Hmm.
and because there's other people who could be talking about that stuff too, and you can um get a sense of comfortability or a sense of confidence, like, oh, I'm not alone, you know,
Hmm.
this person's gone through something.
Yeah. This is also practicing agency, right? It's practicing being able to decide, having the choice to decide how much you share with the group or how much you don't. I
Right.
think there's kind of this notion sometimes that we get a little like, oh, there's a buzzword. It's like vulnerability hangover. You
Yeah.
get like this,
Yeah.
and really like the vulnerability hangover is not our goal, right? Like in life, it's not our
Yeah.
goal. Our goal is to be present enough with ourselves that we can choose how much to share and how much not to share. And
Yeah.
I feel like in group, you get to practice that agency sharing
Yeah.
while being supported by a group of people that you've learned over time to like love and feel supported by,
Yeah.
and not just like these are a bunch of strangers all the time and we've been meeting for like 6 months or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And just to clarify that term, vulnerability hangover, I think it's when you share a lot or maybe too much of your stuff, and there's a period of time afterward where you feel like, I don't know, maybe just kind of like bombed out, or maybe there's like shame or guilt or some sort of difficulty or judgment that comes
Remorse.
out against yourself,
Yeah.
or you just kind of feel raw because you shared a lot of deep
Hmm.
things. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. So that you can really choose your own pace and share as you are comfortable in the group, I think is really valuable.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. What are some other things that are oh, hold on, let's go back to this. So why might somebody join a group? We just talked about some contrast between individual work and group work. Why would someone join a group?
Well, I mean, of course, it's in my nature to go deep and nerdy right off the bat. So I'll pull back for a minute and just think about how being together is kind of an art that is being lost right now, with like the advance of technology. And I know our children right now are really suffering in how to like have in-person conversations with people.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that our physiology, our biology wants us to be together, right? Like that's how we know we're safe is in
Yeah.
group.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that someone would want to join a group because they are lonely or they are working on a specific thing that maybe they were in individual therapy and it's just you kind of hit a plateau,
Yeah.
or you are not sure where to go next, or
Yeah.
you're just looking for connection, looking for belonging, looking for just stability and structure. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons why people would look for a group, but I
Yeah.
also think that back to our physiology, like we have a social nervous system
Yeah.
that is primed for connection, and when we do not satisfy that, when we do not be in connection with people, there's detriment in other areas of our life. And this is how we get to orient ourselves to other humans and through their experiences, but also just truly on like a basic physiological level. There are nerves underneath our skin that actually like reach out for each other. So being in close proximity is just so crucial. It's so key. We can do things online and that definitely like helps,
Mhm.
but being in person, bodies next to bodies is going to be, it's
Yeah.
going to satisfy something that maybe you can't even put into words, but something that your body definitely needs if
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
human.
Yeah, definitely. Like that's huge. Being just simply being with people, I think intuitively everybody understands that deep biological programming of the need for community and the need for connection. So that's a huge reason to join, a group. And you can get that from social groups too, or sports groups or whatever. But there's just another layer of it that comes in, that another layer of that connection that comes and doing healing work in a group. So yeah, that's huge. Not feeling alone, not feeling isolated, you know. Um, why else would someone join? I liked what you said also about the plateau. You know, I know that a lot of healing can and does occur in one-on-one work. And there's something about it, but it feels like to me, it's kind of like living in the closet with your problems, right? And I think there's a lot of value in getting out of the closet, right? Like if you had some terrible, difficult thing happen to you in your childhood or in your teens or 20s or whatever, whenever the hell it happened, going to a therapist or a coach one-on-one, like whatever that happened, it could have happened one-on-one with an abuser or something like that, or some difficult situation, whatever. And now you're back, you're still in a one-on-one situation, but with someone who's helping you. But it's like it happened in isolation and you're healing it in isolation. And it's um, like I said, just keeping it in the closet. Like something's wrong with me. Let me just go over here and fix it. And then my life will be better and I'll be more presentable to the world. And I I feel like something about opening that door is tremendously healing. Being seen and um speaking to your pain and your trauma in a group that is loving and accepting and has rules and guidelines where you are safe is really, really healing. And I would say it's because it kind of takes the fear and the stigma away, right? Like you could be afraid or ashamed of what happened. And in a group, you have this opportunity to open up, and um, you're directly like confronting the fear of that by telling people. You're like saying, "This happened, and I'm not scared. Like it's painful, but I'm not scared that it happened to me. I'm gonna share it." And simply the fear or shame or guilt of whatever, can be terrible. And I think sharing in the group can alleviate that, to
Hmm.
say things out loud to a lot of people, normal ass people, and to
Hmm.
get love and acceptance in return and understanding
Hmm.
and maybe help. It's huge.
Hmm. Yeah, I think there's something really profound about giving voice to our pain and
Yeah.
being witnessed
Yeah.
in a group that is contained. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, I think that the witnessing of our experiencing is not we're not doing that enough, you know, we're not
Yeah.
being with, I mean, that's like a really kind of elusive concept, but like how are you being with something? Are
Yes.
you being with your grief? Are you being with your sorrow? But can you also be with joy?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And when we have, again, it's that practice of being with someone else's pain,
Yeah.
being with, in like such a innocuous way of like they're sharing their story in this healing contained space, and I can be with that sorrow, possibly whatever.
Yeah.
um it brings me closer to being with my own sorrow, my own grief, my own joy, my own frustration, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, you don't have to lead the way into that. And there's so many opportunities in daily life to not be with our stuff, right? We can just turn on the TV, open the phone, get on Instagram or whatever. And here you don't have to, I mean, you put yourself in the position, you're in the group, right? But you don't have to be leading the charge into being with your stuff. Someone else is opening up and you can be with their stuff. And then maybe you
Hmm.
feel comfortable and confident to be with your
Hmm.
stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. There's
Absolutely.
just a tremendous value in that.
Well,
Yeah.
and you know, something else that we haven't touched on here yet, but I really think it's important is like building a community through the group work.
Yeah.
Not all group work is going to build a community. You know, we may be gathering around a specific thing, a specific concept, and after that group session work is over, the concept, you know, percolates in your life however it percolates. Um, but there is the opportunity for cultivating community within a group of people. And I mean,
Yeah.
especially when you're sharing big, vulnerable things like that, that does lend itself to more community.
Yeah.
You know, when I hold a mother circle, almost always those mothers, while the intention of the group is not to forge friendships, but they do.
Yes.
And like then they become resources outside of the context of the circle, even if they don't talk to each other. They're
Yeah.
still in your mind, in your heart, if you will,
Yeah.
and you have access to that resource when you're struggling, when you're having a hard time with the whatever the intention of the circle may be.
Yeah.
You have access to that. So I think that community is inevitable, um, even if the group is like, you know, a weekend or whatever.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. There's short-term groups like on a retreat or something like that.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And then in ongoing groups, it's just it is maybe one of the most powerful places to create those connections and friendships because of the vulnerability, right? Because you get to know people on such a deeper level than just like your neighbor, where you talk about the weather or borrowing a tool or like your kids playing together or something like that.
Hmm.
You're sharing some of the most vulnerable stuff, or you're being the most vulnerable and sharing some of the most difficult stuff in your life. And that just lends us to deeper connection and opening empathy and exchanging care for each other. So it absolutely can foster just some very deep, powerful, long-lasting connections. So
Yeah.
it's tremendously valuable as well. I mean, like we're talking, especially in today's society where um, people aren't gathering in person as much. There's a loneliness epidemic. I saw some uh, a thing about who knows where they get these numbers or make this stuff up, but it was like chronic loneliness is as damaging for your physical body as like smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't know if that's true, and I'd be happy to find it and post it. But like I don't think you need even that statistic or point of data. I think anyone who has felt prolonged loneliness knows how bad it can be. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, this, I mean, the Surgeon General just came out with that. I mean, that was like released a little while ago about the epidemic of loneliness.
Yeah.
The there was also just recently, like in the last couple of weeks, something released about how parents are the most stressed they've ever been.
Yeah.
And when I read that and I read the article, the first thing that came to me was like, well, that's because we're not parenting in community anymore. You
Yeah.
know, we're
Yeah.
trying to do everything all by ourselves all the time.
Yep.
And like, yeah, how can you work 40, 50 hours a week and feel as if you're being a good present parent
Yeah.
and feed them food and get them enough sleep and all of those things?
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
not, we weren't really designed to do this all by ourselves.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. That makes me think about the nervous system regulation too. We kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, talking about how our nervous systems are built to connect with one another. And in that connection, there's that co-regulation, right? Of um when your nervous system is upset because of recalling or going through that pattern of trauma or pain or whatever it was, you've got, you know, five, six, seven, eight, 10 other people around you who are there expressing care. And hopefully you've got a facilitator, you know, and so I think it's easier to help downregulate your nervous system in a group.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The co-regulation.
Yeah.
That's it's such a seemingly easy concept to understand, like, but it's not always easy to access because we have to have a deeper understanding of our own nervous system, our own
Yeah.
like if I'm heightened, if I'm in sympathetic arousal or whatever,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to co-regulate with you until I can regulate, like come
Hmm.
down myself. But if
Hmm.
we don't have that sort of um understanding of ourself, then
Hmm.
it's going to be really hard
Yeah.
to co-regulate with another person.
Yeah. Yeah. But the group being in the group, there's a greater availability for it, you know, and the group
Right.
attention to help heal. So there is a much greater availability and hopefully individuals who have training and can help teach you. So
Hmm. Right. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, yeah. Um, I feel like I really want to reiterate like how valuable groups can be simply for the deep connection when we live in a society that is starving for it, where we are, you
Hmm.
know, we are completely, almost completely divorced from deep connection on a regular basis. So
Hmm.
value of having a conscientious space to go deep and be present with each other, I think is the medicine that so many people in the world and let's say in America or the Western Hemisphere need these days.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I know
Yeah.
you and I believe that this is really the future, you know,
Hmm. Yep.
chronically digitally connected and just socially, emotionally disconnected society. The pendulum has swung so far in one direction that it's got to start to go back. I think
Hmm.
people really are feeling the yearning and need for deep connection, that, you
Hmm.
know, a return to the tribe almost like we need it. It's a need. I can't just, you know, grind and work and achieve all on my own. It's almost meaningless, you know. We
Hmm.
want to share inherently. So yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like these groups, my group, your group, all these other groups that are coming up, are kind of the seeds or beginnings of that maybe
Hmm.
shift. Yeah.
Yeah. I really feel that more and more humans are waking up to what it is to be human. We can't keep like producing at the levels that we are, um, you know, at
Yeah.
this rate.
Yeah.
So I
It's
just
the
hope it just hope it comes sooner than later.
yeah, it's like the illusion of the the illusion of the happiness that capitalism brings is being dispelled, you know, like
Hmm.
we're in a cycle right now where we're just the all industries are just being heightened to maximize production and
Hmm.
create new things to keep the wheel turning. And um yeah, people are waking up to like, whoa, life isn't just about consumption. Life isn't about
Hmm.
getting and having. It's about being and connecting. And
Hmm. Hmm.
as we're feeling the absence of it, and they're like, oh my gosh, that new thing that I just bought, are all the new things, the shiny things that I have are not making me happy.
Hmm.
So how do I become happy? Where does
Right.
happiness lie?
Right. Right. And I think a big key of that is like being with the uncomfortability of whatever you're trying to satisfy by the thing that you
Yeah,
bought.
yeah,
And it's like having the bravery and having the also the softness that a group provides of like you don't have to be all the way brave all the time. Like you can ease your way into the bravery of being with that difficult feeling. And it's like that's the magic. That's what makes it so potent,
yeah.
is that it's just you can be wherever you are in the
Yeah.
journey and it be like totally cool.
Yeah, you don't have to be healed. You don't have to be perfect
Yeah.
to be normal, to be accepted, to be loved, to be connected with, and to be
Yeah.
appreciated. Yeah.
So I was wondering if you had like if you have an example of something super profound that has either happened to you as a facilitator or within um or being a participant of a group.
Yeah. It's not a individual instance, it's an ongoing thing. Um,
Hmm.
and that is that the amount of gratitude and the amount of gratitude that's expressed in my group on a regular basis for the group, what's just profound and amazing to me is, I started my group a year and a half ago, and I had intentions and I had some skills and experience, but I don't think I was really prepared for. I knew that we needed this. I knew that humans and men needed this, but I don't think I was really prepared for the magic that has come to exist, and how grateful and how much of an impact it has on every single person that comes to my group, whether they come one time or two times or they come every time. Um, I don't think I've ever had a person who hasn't said, wow, this is incredible. And this helps me. And this is so necessary to me. Like almost
Hmm.
every single person has said that. And
Hmm.
I feel like as a facilitator, what I'm doing is fairly basic. It seems that what I'm offering and what I'm doing, holding space, just asking some questions, and sticking to our guidelines and our rules of respecting each other and all that. Like all that is quite simple. Um, but what happens when we all come together and people share, it's so profound, and the
Hmm.
amount of like satisfaction or happiness or peace um, that people get is just like, wow, wow.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I it's the medicine they didn't know they needed.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And just to see them express that and feel it and notice it is like, whoa, you know,
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm.
Because like I have these intentions, but I wasn't specifically out to, it wasn't this big intention. I'm gonna make people feel this way and solve all the like. I was just like, no, I'm just gonna hold space and let people bring themselves here, and so it's like
Hmm.
it's happening without me, and in
Hmm.
a certain way. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, and another like powerful or magical thing that I've witnessed a number of times is when a person shares something in the group that they've literally never told another human ever in their entire lives. That's really significant. Really significant. It's happened to me. I shared not long ago something I'd never ever shared before, and it was tremendously healing and also
Hmm.
unexpected. And when somebody does that, it's just kind of like I feel like there's in that simple act, there's a major shift that happens in that individual's consciousness,
Hmm.
and it's
Hmm.
it's profound.
Yeah. So if you were someone who is trying to find a group, where would you, how do you even find groups? Because I know you have your Mindful Masculine group. I have
Yeah.
my Mother Circle group. I'm
Yeah.
also starting a new group in the early part of 2025 that's going to be called Body Wisdom. And
Mhm.
it's more for just somatics in general and like connecting with your body in a new way. Um, but yeah, where do you find these groups?
Yeah. Turn to the internet and like I think you people should determine like what do they really want? Do they want a specific focus? As you can find a group like you're saying, Body Wisdom, where you're talking about women's bodies, I assume, and connection with it and all that stuff. So it's like just start Googling, looking in your area, looking online. And do you want it on a specific thing? I gave the example earlier when we were preparing for the call of like um, people who were adopted and are struggling with that. Or are you struggling with addiction? Do you want specific like addiction support group counseling? Um, or do you want do you want to be in a men's group that's all about, connection and positive self-development as men? Or do you want to, a women's group, right? So getting clear on what you want, what you're looking for, um, and then yeah, looking around. I do personally, I run my group in person, but then I do participate in an online group, and I think those are great, really great. I know that there's a lot of people that might live in areas where an in-person group is not available. Um, but online groups can be highly effective, and
Hmm.
can be just as good. So
Hmm.
yeah,
I agree.
um, yeah. What are your thoughts there?
Well, I did my Mother Circle facilitation training online.
Mhm.
And then, but the in-person Mother Circle is always like a more potent experience. But
Yeah,
given that I first was introduced to Mother Circle online, it was just as powerful and amazing as well.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I definitely think those people, or like for me or other, I mean, this is my experience. It's really hard for me to drive somewhere
yeah,
in like the middle of my day. It's like a whole interruption, whereas I can
yeah,
finish one thing and sit down at my computer and jump on a
yeah.
group. It's like so much better than nothing, right?
Absolutely. It's way better.
Yeah,
Yeah. And that
yeah,
that accessibility is the online accessibility, like you're just saying. That's very great.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so um I think that like the meetup is probably a great place to look, like meetup.com.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah. I haven't been on there
have
in
you
a
ever,
long time.
yeah, I haven't either, but I know my guy is always on there looking for different things, like
Uh,
various things
yeah.
to do.
Mhm.
And there should be more of that. Like it would be cool if a lot more people like that concept is really cool.
Yeah.
Um, Facebook events and also like talking to people and be like, what's working for you? Because I know, oh, and I was going to mention this too, but like a friend of mine was going to a men's group at his church. And I
Mhm.
feel like churches used to be like community centers and
Yes.
places for people to gather.
Yeah.
And at this point, there's a lot of people who've left the church for
Yes.
various reasons.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we're seeing the whole that
Yeah.
the churches were providing the community.
Yeah.
Um, so I think a lot of people now are asking, like, wait, how do I get the community but without the like dogma?
Right. How do I get it
And
without the guilt, without
yeah,
without being
right,
told I'm going to hell?
right, right.
Yeah.
So I think that just thinking about how like or like asking people around you, like what are you going, where do you gather? Where do
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
um
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Yeah, reaching out to
Because
them.
I do feel like, word of mouth or like those connections are kind of always going to be a great place to go.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Um, what was something just came up? Oh, yeah, this is part of our earlier conversation. Another thing about groups is it can be really accessible. There's a lot of groups that can be free or very low cost. So if
Hmm.
one-on-one therapy is like cost prohibitive for you, try
Hmm.
starting with a group. I mean, I've participated in ACA, which is Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunctional Families.
Hmm.
Nationwide, I think it's a global organization, and there's just some fantastic work that happens there, and
Hmm.
they don't ask for anything. It's donation based, and everyone
Hmm.
is facilitating on a volunteer basis. So,
Hmm.
and then AA, same thing, same, not the same organization, but related.
Hmm.
They're brothers, sisters, whatever. But yeah, groups can be much more accessible in that way.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
But there is also value in paying for a group. Like the group
Yep.
that I participate in, I pay for. I think there's something to be said there about commitment, putting your money where
Hmm.
your mouth is and showing up and having some skin in the game.
Hmm.
I think there's
Hmm.
plenty of value there. As far as accountability and that goes. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. All right, my friend, I need to get rolling, but this has been lovely.
Yeah.
And next time we'll have a new topic.
Yes, we'll have a new topic, and it's going to be great. We could talk more on this a lot, but I'll just direct
Yeah,
you to our um, blogs and personal material. But I just want to encourage anybody who's listening, go out and find a group if any of this, resonated with you, and yeah, jump on in.
awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, Sarah. I'll see ya.
Bye.